All right, guys, welcome in. 16-day forecast. 15 days until the end of YouTube as we know it. Anyway, guys, much love. Welcome in. Welcome back. We're going to get into tons of information tonight. What is in the air? We're going to get into what is in the air here in just a second. And we just got a couple little headlines we're going to hit before we jump into the 16-day forecast. Before we do here, let me just show you some of these snow amounts that are trying to show up on the GFS. I'm going to take this up 6 hours at a time, and I don't know if you'll be able to see the numbers, but here on about Tuesday, you got to watch right over here in the British Columbia area, and then when it starts hitting down in California, I'll point them out before I get too far. But these are some crazy amounts of snow. So I'm going to take this up probably about into December. This is the next 2 weeks of precipitation as far as snow. And there's a couple crazy bands that are be coming in. Right now we're at 22 down there in California. But then this wicked little spot right in here. Right now it's already at 20 inches of snow. 28, 39. I'm going up 6 hours at a time. You're over here at 24 inches in California. Another 6 hours, it jumps up to 46 inches in BC. 32 inches in California. Another 6 hours, we're looking at 33 inches and 41 inches. 50, look at that, 52 inches. And then down in California, 60 inches. 50, jumping up to 62 inches, 71 inches up in BC, 91 inches in California. 96, 111 inches in British Columbia. If we take this all the way out to the full 2 weeks, we're looking at 120 inches in 16 days. That's ridiculous. It's showing 90 inches down in California. You got some patches of 40, 44 inches over here in Wyoming. 44, South Dakota. I mean, just crazy amounts. Up here, 51 inches in Washington. So we're talking roof collapsing amounts of snow. Crazy, man. Anyway, we'll get into why some of this stuff is happening. First, I want to show you something. Everybody that joins us every night shows that we showed the biggest spraying operation. And I'll get into the spraying operation. I'll get into... What am I talking about? The spraying operation. I'm talking about the aerosols coming out of the back of these jets. Well, this was the biggest aerosol deployment over the whole planet back on the 20th. And then we just go on up to today. But what happened with all them aerosols is France and Italy got an incredible amount of rainfall, 400 millimeters of rain in just 48 hours. That's 50% of their yearly average. So torrential rain, 45 flood alerts to a flood disaster. Just crazy stuff over here in Europe. And what's even crazier is look at what happened to the aerosols now. Look where it's at now. It's right over Moscow. You can see these clouds have a different color than every other cloud on the map. It's like its own entity out here. And when you really zoom in, then you can see these are all aircraft trails coming out of the planes, the back of the planes. Some possibly could be actual spraying planes and drones, but just a crazy signature out here. Now I want to jump into something here. I went back to some research I did a long time ago, and I wanted to bring this back up. You know, what's in our air, what's in the water, what's even in the antlers of the deers. Well, back in 2004, elevated silver, barium, strontium in antlers vegetation and soil sourced from the CWD cluster areas. Crystals represents the transmissible pathogenic agent. So you got high levels of silver, the barium, the strontium, low levels of copper have been measured in the antlers, soils, and pastures of the deer. Thriving in the chronic wasting disease cluster zones in North America to the areas where CWD and the other transmissionable spongiform, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But anyway, where I'm going with this, let me take you to the ingredients of a plain trail. Right now, they've bumped up to the JP8. This is a jet fuel biodiesel. And when we look at the contents of these so-called contrails, so-called water vapor, we could see from the JP5 that the aluminum elements was 2,144 parts per billion. Well, now that they're running the JP8, we're looking at 93,060 parts per billion. We can also see that the copper has gone down for the JP5 from 82 down to 6. The iron elements have jumped up from 210 to 1,144. Magnesium up to 5840 from 1,000. How about the strontium? Back with the JP5, it was 70 parts per billion. Now it's 351. Sulfur went from 450 to 1690. Titanium went from 35 to 1,056 parts per billion. Now these alumini nanoparticles can enter right into the human bodies, right into your organs. We see that the bees are getting Alzheimer's. We see that all the plants and trees are dying. The aquatic life is dwindling. And, when you go back through history, let's just go back to the history of the jet trails. Back in 1948 was when the first jet powered was flown. We get up to 1958. The sky started getting aerial circus. The contrails are breaking down into a haze, creating a cloud-like appearance. The Air Force so far is flabbergasted. This is back in 1958. This is when newspapers would actually say something about this. News fuss raised over the jet trails. How about back in 1958? Jet trails dim the sun. Palm Springs gripes. Back in December 6th. Where's the outrage about this right now? The aerosols that are being deployed this week, this month, are worse than all the aerosols since the beginning of the very first flight from the Wright brothers. But do you hear Greta talking about this? Do you hear all these Hollywood and politicians talking about this? No. Now they say if they had 300 supersonic transports were in the air at one time, the region of operation of most SSTs might easily be 100% covered with cirrus clouds. Cirrus clouds are the plane trails. Man's making Earth with a bad place to live, this professor said back in 1968. Man is spewing so much dust into the air, so much fertilizer into the land, he's in danger of turning his own planet into a hostile environment. The atmospheric pollution of this kind also reduces rainfall by decreasing the ability of the moisture lower air to become heated and rise to the altitudes in which they cool, and it's vapor and precipitation. Well, now they use ice nucleation. They have that covered now. Back in 1970, Illinois, New Jersey officials will not settle pollution suits against the major airlines. I mean, this just goes on and on, man. There's always been a history of people trying to fight it, but all they did is make it worse. The U.S. to clamp down on jet pollution back in 1970, but did they do that? No. The smoke that pours from the jet engines is caused by incomplete fuel burning. Eliminates smoke plumes almost completely, but it never happened. So there's your little history on what is in these aerosols that are being deployed. And take a look back over Moscow right now. You know, if you take this back just a day, we go back one day. These all merged. There was aerosols being deployed in Turkey, and this merged with the same one from France. They've been setting this up. You got aerosols coming out of Ukraine over Moscow. They were painting the targets, just like they do with the fires. We could take a look right down here in Australia in the fire zones. Looks like all fire smoke, don't it? But if you click the different layers, all of a sudden you can see they're gridding the sky right over the fire zones. We can just keep checking the layers. We can go back a day and look at all these. These are not fire to put the fire out. These are spraying accelerants on there. And we can go up to today, and I've got on the ground footage from today of the aerosols being deployed over Australia and down off the coast. Why are they doing this? For the same reason they did it in California. They're wanting to put the high-speed rail in. Let me show you. Oops, that's not the right one. Here's a picture sent to me from a viewer of the high-speed rail that they're planning in Australia. And every one of these are going right into the fire zones. This is the ash on the beach from the fires. It doesn't look like a beach anymore. Here's some of the smoke. These were all sent from the viewer, and thanks out there for sending this stuff to us. And you want to know that extreme weather and the financial markets go together. Opportunities in the commodities of the future and future. Look, they know where these storms are going. They keep track of all this stuff. That's why a lot of the hurricanes and other stuff is engineered, and it's to give, you know, some companies a boost. Hey, we need to sell some generators. Stock up on them. We'll send a big power outage storm towards your way, and we'll take care of it. We'll get into this map here in just a little bit. Just wanted to show you some of these freaky frequency lines and things that are going on. And these are going to be the reason why we're going to be seeing some of these monstrosity amounts of snow. There's a whole new spraying operation out here right off the coast of Oregon. It goes all the way up. This is just the beginning. They're already setting up the next system for the huge amounts of snow, and we're going to be watching that. So let's go ahead and hit a couple of the little articles. We've had a small earthquake reported in Salem, New Hampshire. A 1.8 earthquake happened around 9:45 yesterday. Even though they just published this 31 minutes ago. For those wondering, it has been confirmed we had a small earthquake tonight. Well, that wasn't the only earthquake. So if we get time, we're going to go into the earthquakes later on in the show. We also had 5 earthquakes. I call these the fracking earthquakes, including 3 of magnitudes 3.6 strike Oklahoma. This is the New Madrid zone. They have fracked the crap out of this area all the way from Texas all the way up to the Yellowstone volcano. This is the new weak point. That's why we're seeing so many quakes here. Now down in Australia, they're battling the fires, they're battling the poisonous drops from the sky and everything else. Well, you got this Noah's Ark bus evacuates 150 animals from the bushfire. Well, they're calling it a Noah's Ark like because of what they do. So they saved, some animals, but man, so many animals burn up in these fires. It's just ridiculous. Now they're pushing this on the Australians. Insidious disease could find its way to Australia. And they got a map here of, where these diseases are going. You see there's nothing, no malaria, nothing in Australia right now, but it looks like they're prepping to get it there. All these links are in the description. Take a look at this. Top 10 causes of death in low-income countries in 2016. Look, lower respiratory infections, heart disease. The respiratory is coming from the aerosols. You're talking about marine heat waves threatening the oyster industry, affecting the Great Barrier Reef, scientists warn. Hey, thanks out there writing for dot. I don't know if I said that right, but hey, thanks. Much love out there. So, bunch of things going on. We've seen how they purposely killed the fish in some of the areas. I played a clip a couple months ago where the guys were holding up the dead fish. I mean, it's just ridiculous what's going on down here. We're seeing the same thing in other countries. Just seems like California and Australia are getting it much worse. You got this coming out of the Sydney Morning Herald. Very disturbing. People dressed in the Nazi uniforms confront shoppers at the supermarket. They didn't confront anybody. These people, they were going to some party or something. They could have been actors, a reenactment thing. But people started going after them, and you could see they weren't actual, Nazi people. But it's pretty funny article here. I posted it in the deal. Then we had Kenya landslide kills dozens of people after torrential rains hit the country. The weathergenerator.net. Just look to that company, and we know why this happened. We got this. So it's not bad enough that Europe just got clobbered by one of the biggest spraying operations on the planet. They also they call it an extra tropical storm. Sebastian, it's headed their way. We'll take a look at the models. We got one over here, Storm Rita, down by Australia. Wait till I show you the plots on that. It's pretty funny. We'll get into that in a minute. We're done with that. I think I was going to show you the aerosols on this that were being deployed into the fire zone. Exactly where the railway is going in. They're burning these almost all the way to the coast. The train's going to go up the coast. And just bad things going on down here. Maybe try to get into these a little bit later. You know what? We probably need to go ahead and just jump into the 16-day forecast. And what we're going to do, we're going to go 6 hours at a time. And oh man, I hope it's not updating. It looks like it might be updating. Man, how's that even possible? Why they updated it now? Alright, let's just see. This thing may not go where I need it to go. I should have saved the file. But anyway, here we'll go up 6 hours at a time. Up in the upper northeast, you got a pretty good wind event going right now. Man, we're only going to get the next 66 hours. We're gonna, oh no, wait. Yep, that's all we're gonna get. It's not gonna let us. We're gonna have to come back to this. We're just gonna go to the total accumulated precipitation. Now this is gonna be, I don't know if this is going all the way up either. Yeah, they're updating the site while we're doing our forecast. Well, you can pretty much see from this is the target zones for all the moisture. Right where I showed you where all the moisture is going to be in the mountains there in California. I mean, we could be looking at mudslides, snow melt, collapsing roofs. Even Northern California is going to get in on the action. Then the mega heavy stuff up there in BC area. Pretty good targets over here for Tennessee, Kentucky, right around the New Madrid, Arizona, and parts of Colorado, parts of South Dakota, Wyoming, Wyoming, Nebraska, and definitely northern Washington. Anyway, hopefully we can get this thing will update here pretty quick. Let me just try. Maybe I can reload this and see if it'll get us updated here. So let me try this. Now it's even worse. Now we only got the next 30 hours. Here's that moisture that was induced on France and Italy. Just take that up a day, or see, it just followed that, and then what you're going to see is where that mega spraying, it's going to pull it right up into where we're seeing the major spraying operations right now. Here's some of the moisture that's over here. Whoops. Put that back on now. And now let me see how far. This thing only goes out a few days, so we're not going to get a whole lot. But you can see right now, parts of Northern California, Oregon, about 3/4 of an inch every 3 hours. So it looks like that was going to move pretty fast. It's the storms that are coming up later here, coming up. So I'm just kind of hitting this. No bunker fuel operations on either coast. Look where the bunker fuel operations were. Now look what's forming, you know, this big spinning system. This is headed over towards Europe too. Now you got this big old, look at the moisture in this extra tropical storm. And then you're going to have another wave coming in right after that, hitting the same areas. And what I'm going to try to do here, man, that's okay. Now we're going. All right, now we can do the 16-day forecast. I think it's loaded up all the way. Let me see. All right, yeah, we're loaded now. Okay, we'll go into the 16-day forecast. And here we are on November 24th. What we're going to do, we're going to go over this, and then as the weeks go, or this is 2 weeks basically, 14, 16 days worth of forecasting. This is the weather plan developed by Raytheon, sent to the National Weather Service, and this thing is pretty much accurate. Sometimes it may be a day ahead, day behind, but it's always almost dead accurate. And here we go. We're going to go 6 hours at a time. There's not a whole lot going on other, than some snow and wind event up in the Northeast. A little bit of snow right there at the border of Canada, Minnesota. And then we're going to see this first wave of rain. That little pressure right there. Let's just see what goes on. Over here in the upper Northeast, Nova Scotia, you're going to get hammered here on Monday. So a lot of this, we really don't even need to talk about because it's just light stuff. Here's the next 36 hours. You see you got the atmospheric river coming up through the Bajas. It's going to merge with this system here on Tuesday the 26th. and the wind streams are starting to tighten up. And then you have another system with a lot of wind associated with it. This is on Tuesday, the 26th. Now look at all this is going to kind of hit at once. You got heavy snow bands for Northern California, parts of Oregon. I mean, this is a super wind event. This is going to be like a blizzard up here. Then you also have, you know, lighter snow with this one in the beginning on Wednesday. But it's definitely a wind event. Going to get a little bit higher amounts of snow, 4 to 6 inches. But it's a wind event. Same with this. Look at this is when the snow and the wind is going to be hitting Northern California. And we're looking at 4 to 6 inches just to start with this first system. But look at the winds up here. I mean, that's insane. We got just blizzard type conditions here on Wednesday, the 27th, for Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, up into Canada, while you got rain in the south. So this could be a pretty wicked storm for Wisconsin and up into Canada. So if you're getting, you know, 6 inches of snow every 6 hours, it's going to be a pretty big deal up there. It's going to ruin what little bit of crops they were waiting to harvest. They're not going to get harvested. It's going to go right up through Canada, same thing. And the wind's not dying down up here. We're going to have to check and see if they're doing any kind of ionospheric heating. And look, they're just letting the atmospheric river go where it's supposed to go. And then you got this thing down here. This storm here is, I mean, we're going to maybe see tornadoes here in a few days or a couple weeks here. Here comes the ice storms on Thursday the 28th. Did I get that? Yeah, so the winds are going to die down once this gets up to the northeast. But, you know, right there, that's pretty wicked. Here we could have some horrible road conditions for Oklahoma, parts of Texas. Not too big of winds, but the winds are all right there coming down British Columbia. We'll take this on up. Here's Thursday. Going into Friday. Look at the rain for Southern California, the Bajas. Arizona's going to be getting into the mix. Nevada's going to get some snow. Snow through Colorado, Utah. And the thing is, with something like this, man, you could actually get tornadoes out of the southern part of the storm. And this sucker's going to start winding up here on Saturday, November 30th, next Saturday. It's just kind of hanging around, man. Not too heavy of moisture, but you're going to have ice, sleet, and then it starts wrapping up. So here comes the blizzard conditions again for North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, parts of Nebraska, and it's just going to spin, man. So it'll be a blizzard up here in the upper north, while you could have possible tornadoes right through Tennessee, Kentucky, through the Ohio Valley. I mean, tornadoes are all year round now. We seen it last year. We seen tornadoes in December. We had them up in Washington, Oregon, New York, Boston. We had them way up there. Maine, I think it was. And big ice storm here on this December 2nd. So we'll start getting into these worst storms and hope this moisture stays off the coast before it builds up that big. So here pretty soon we're going to start heading up into the super, super heavy. Look at the wind event has just shifted over a little bit around the Alberta area. Look, it's like it's just a freaky little wind stream right there. I mean, that's just mega winds. Super tight isobars right there. So we're going to get a little break before the second wave comes in. Winds are still there. Here comes some more rain for California. It's the rainy season for California. They stopped the bunker fuel and now they're going to let it rain. So here's where it starts getting interesting. On December 6th, this is Friday, it's going to start with ice. So we got ice and sleet, so we got to watch out for power outages. Here comes the heavy snow starting to come in. Here comes the rain, heavy rain for California. And the heavy snow up in BC. This is on December 6th, Friday still. So we're going to be looking for flooding, mudslides, landslides over here in California. We'll take that right on up into the 7th. And it like don't really go nowhere. It just kind of sticks there at the mountains. And then here comes a brutal, heavy snow up around the British Columbia area with high winds. And it looks like they're just going to be steering the atmospheric river here. Look, they're just targeting the Paradise area. They're targeting the Ridge Crest area, you know, where the ground has dropped like 40 centimeters. And then here comes the third wave. This is the third and the biggest, craziest wave. Look at the winds. I mean, these winds could be over 100 miles an hour. So that's going to be crazy to watch that. And then here's some more of the super heavy snow. I mean, you got summertime on one side and just downpours of snow on the other side. So that's going to be pretty crazy right there. So towards December 10th, man, it's going to be pretty serious. I mean, you could be looking at roofs collapsing from the wet, heavy snow. Then the high winds. So just waves of winter coming. One thing we'll check. Let's check the temperature models before we jump out of this. Now, I don't think we're going to have any super Arctic air with these storms yet. That'll be later in December when they start pushing the polar vortex winds around. I mean, here's the one super cold spot up in Toronto, up in Canada, Quebec. So let me just kind of click through this pretty quick. You know, you got a couple little waves of some cold, 9 degrees, -2, -5 up there in Alberta and the BC. Pretty cold temperatures, but that'll be in the higher elevations. There's a -7 right there in Colorado on the 27th. So we're not seeing no big Arctic plunge, which is a good thing. This is probably the biggest one so far, but it's still not some super Arctic plunge. We got -5, -4 through Colorado. These will be in the higher elevations. And let me just take this as far as we can. So it doesn't look like any stratospheric heating yet, but like I said, that's coming. I showed you last night, I think it was, where I showed you how they steered the polar winds and pushed that super cold air. In fact, we'll just go check the winds right now up in the stratosphere. Let me make sure we're on now. Gotta get it on the wind. So right now, here's the polar vortex winds. Let's check the southern hemisphere. That's what it should look like. So they're done. There shouldn't even be a heating event down there. Let's check. Let's see if there's still a heating event. Not really. Just kind of a slight, not really a heating event. We'll see if anything is forming up here. Now I can take this up just a couple days. Yeah, if you didn't see last night's show, you need to go back and watch what I show you, what they did last year around Christmas time. I don't have it all loaded. In fact, we could go back real quick. A lot of people out there. Let me take you back here. Let's go back in time. Let's go to 2018. Let's go to December 21st. They were going to send us a Christmas present. I think I forgot to hit apply. All right, so here we go. Let me take the winds off so you can see this. Now, at this time, it was completely dark. There was no, sun to hit this to heat this area up. This is an atmospheric compression event. This is a rapid heating event that we're going to be watching. Now, let me take this up. We're on December 20th, 2018. December 21st, we started getting this heating event that was going on, and here's the polar cold air coming up on the 22nd. This heating event just grows. It's pushing this cold air over towards Europe. Then here on the 23rd, right before Christmas Eve, they really fired up the ionospheric heaters and pushed this thing. Here's Christmas Eve. They were trying to send this cold air down to the United States, and they pushed it too far. They got it over towards Europe. So they immediately start shutting down the ionospheric heating, and we'll take this on up. See, it started turning into like a, they got some of the cold here, but it was just, that's not what the desired effect. So they were trying to pinch it off. And watch what happens as we just keep progressing here. So, whoops, all the super cold's not over the United States. It's all over in Europe. So what do you do then? Instead of firing the atmospheric heater up over on the same area, they fired up over here. And now watch, they're going to push that super cold polar vortex air right back over. They're heating it from the other side. I mean, this is against all meteorological terms. And they didn't hit it as hard. And then they just turned it off. They turned it off. And this polar vortex air, we're talking minus 93 degrees, was parked over the United States for over a month. So that was crazy stuff that happened last year, and I'm sure they're going to do it again because that's what they do. We're going to check the atmospheric rivers of the sky. They steer these rivers in the sky. I show the companies all the time that admit to doing it, and they even document everything they do. Now we know this is always, they use the high pressures that were over here. I bet if we check the pressures, hold on, let me look at the pressures. Get us back on now. So normally they keep this high pressure parked over off the west coast. But look, it's all high pressure out here. You got one little low pressure. In fact, let's go back just like a month and see what we're looking at. See, so the high pressure, they usually keep steered and parked right here. And if you go back to now, man, it's really not that different. So that just shows you right there that these are engineered. These high pressure, low pressure systems don't mean nothing when it comes to California, because what it is, they're steering these atmospheric rivers. You just have to go back and listen to any of our videos. I already see a little bit of manipulation there. Go back to when we were covering the Paradise fires. How they were in a 5-year drought, the fires come in, and all of a sudden, all this atmospheric river got steered straight into the Paradise area, washing away the evidence. They're doing the same thing in the fire zones down here in Australia. They have that atmospheric river right over the fire zone, should be putting the fires out. They are getting rain right now. It's just like clockwork. It's crazy what they are doing. I wanted to check the aerosols that are being deployed right now out here in the Pacific. You got several zones that they're spraying right now all over Oregon, Northern California. And all the bunker fuel is gone. No more bunker fuel ships. And they were only out in the Atlantic for one day. Was Let me show you. I looked all over today. I'll put the bunker fuel layer on here. No bunker fuel out here in the Atlantic. And all we have to do is go back one day, and here they all were. All these big, long, straight lines. These are ships. I call them the weather modification ships. They're dumping the most toxic emissions on the planet. This is worse than the JP8. This is a leftover of refining fuel. It's so thick they have to heat it to burn it. All you gotta do is Google ship tracks, Google bunker fuel, and you'll see what this is all about. And they were going into the storm like 20-foot waves. They're heading for the storm, and now today they're completely gone. Anyway, so some more waves going over the UK. That's one thing we could go look real quick. We could go ahead and take a quick look at some of the other regions and just see what they're in for. Let's go ahead. We'll take Australia first, and then we'll go to Europe, because that's where most of our viewers are watching this. So all our fire zones, you know, are all down the southern coast, right where it's kind of raining, but then, you know, there could be lightning popping off the storms from all the heavy metal particulates. So it looks like they're getting ready to try to put the fires out in Australia. You know, parts of Australia is drying out, but you're getting some rain in a lot of places. All the aerosols are all being deployed where all this rain is going. This only goes up to November 30th. Let's go ahead and check. Up in Europe, if I can remember where to go to get there. Here it is. So Europe, Italy, all been getting blasted. Here comes that leftovers of the subtropical storm. So more rain for Ireland, the UK, France. It's going to go on over. Look at snow down there. So here comes the first wave, and it's just going to kind of swing around. Look where that monster aerosol deployment is, right where the moisture is going. So it's not over. And then you got another wave coming in for Europe, Spain, Portugal, Italy. You know, the weather warfare is everywhere. Every continent. We got one more to check. We got to check the Middle East, because this is where several companies are doing weather modification out here, and they're not shy about it. They have a website you can watch and follow. Hey, thanks out there, chat. So it looks like they're fabricating some rain for Israel. Now, Israel is one of the least sprayed spots on the planet. In fact, let's take a quick look. Because they've only been sprayed 3 times this whole year. And yes, there's aerosols being deployed up in the north. Same kind of patterns you see, look at that. Same kind of patterns you see everywhere else in the world that are dumping out these poisonous emissions from the planes and actual sprayers and drones. It's UN. So a lot of north spraying, and even spraying right there off the coast. So you got definitely coming right off the coast here. Let's go back to yesterday to see if they started the aerosols yesterday. So this is some pretty fast acting aerosols right here. So like one day of spraying, and then they're going to be getting some rain. Over here, the UAE, they made all this rain. All right, maybe we could check the earthquakes real quick. Let's see if I can get it to the right scene here. Hopefully I have this on the right scene. We'll see if we get the earthquakes to pop up. And I'm just waiting for it to load here. There it is. So we're still, we're waiting for the seismic pressure to hit here off the coast of Oregon and Washington. We just had, in fact, let me just put the 6s on here. Or at least, let's go to the 5s. 5.8 and up. So here's all our big quakes. Let me put on the depth. So Alaska's getting hit with tons of aftershocks. You had the big 6.3, now you got tons of 5.8s. And these are shallow quakes. Wow, I can't get this thing to... And now you have like a mid-level quake down at the tip of Mexico down here, whatever the area is right there, right by the volcanoes. But we still have this big silent zone right here. It's not getting hit with the same size activity. This is the last 7 days. So why is it so quiet right here? Something is going on. Now if we drop the quakes in size down, then you could really see there's a two huge dead spots. I mean, you got the earthquakes here where the fracking is. You got one there by, I can't tell if that's by Yellowstone or if that's up even higher. I guess we could go look at it, but there's no quakes right here. What's going on? So that's a pretty good size there, 5.8. Let's go ahead and check the USGS. I'll have to change scenes back. Yeah, they definitely aren't reporting the quakes. It's pretty crazy. So look at that one. That one looks like that's really close. So where is this one at? I guess I gotta wait for it to load. I like this to be on the satellite version so I can kind of see where I'm at. And I don't know if I can put the streets on at the same time. All right, we're looking at the 1 day magnitude here. Let's put on at least the let's put on 1 day all magnitudes. So we got one little one, and that's right where like the little slow slips going on. Napine, Washington. And that is so that's Yellowstone. So we do have some little quake here by Yellowstone. 38 kilometers east northeast of Yellowstone. You know, Yellowstone's right here. We got a little one up here. Virginia City, Montana. But man, we got, look at down here by Ridgecrest. I think this is a Ridgecrest area. Wow, this thing has not stopped moving. Oh wow. Okay, how'd we get to this? Okay, thanks for let me know here. I gotta, oh, I know it's wrong. Hold on. Yeah, my broadcaster is freaking out sometimes here. There we go. So I'll back this back out so you guys can see it. So we definitely have a quake in Yellowstone area. But look at Ridgecrest. It's forming out still, man. Here's the Naval Air Force. There's got to be maybe Magna on the move underneath this thing. This whole area has dropped by 40 inches. You know, what causes a sinkhole? Well, there's got to be a void in there. But, you know, it's just unbelievable that there's no earthquakes in one of the biggest earthquake zones on the planet. Now you got one up here, and this one is Napavine, Washington, but nothing off the coast of Oregon. I mean, there should be earthquakes just following this whole zone, like pretty much you would think. And then we had the weird earthquake up here in Boston. Wasn't Boston, but it was New Hampshire. Hey, thanks out there. Oh wow, your dad used to do some weather engineering. Iron Man metal. Hey, thanks. Yep, farmers can rent the trees, and farmers can rent the cloud ionizers. They can rent the things that shoot the silver iodide to this day. You can go to the Texas Driver's License Bureau and get your chemtrail license. Tennessee, so we got, you know, a few quakes down here in Missouri and Tennessee and the New Madrid, and we got, you know, a little breakout here in Oklahoma in a fracking area. Might be getting a super rupture down here. So a lot of quakes are popping off in that one area, man. To me, this is just, they've weakened the crust. If you ever go on Google Earth and look at the, hey, thanks out there, Debbie. Much love out there. Nice contribution there. Thanks for the support. So tons of earthquakes going off here, and we're still waiting for something to happen. I know they're trying to get more money to deploy more data out here, but man, they should already have all this stuff. They should already have it out there. They should need no more money. They got tons of money. In fact, I think I'm going to play a little clip here. A lot of new people in here. If I can get this on the right scene, I'm going to play a couple clips because I got to go use the restroom real quick here. So let me see if I can play this, if the broadcaster will cooperate. And for some reason it's way up on the wrong. It won't let me scroll up. Why won't it scroll up? I'm trying to get to this montage I made the other day, and I'm not sure if this is it. But here, I'm going to play this. I'll be right back.
Mr. President, honored delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control. We shall propose, finally, a global systems of communication satellites linking the whole world in telegraph and telephone and radio and television. The day need not be far away when such a system will televise the proceedings of this body to every corner of the world for the benefit of peace.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly.
We start the new month. Claims tonight international vapour trails laid by international organisations could be filling central west skies with dangerous chemicals. Opponents of these mysterious chemtrails, which have been appearing over Dubbo and other central west centres, argue science is being perverted to change local weather patterns and keep Australia in drought.
These weirdly shaped vapour trails above Dubbo make curious patterns, but concerns tonight it could signal a systematic poisoning of the skies above Western New South Wales. Jet planes often leave contrails, but these vapour trails aren't on any recognised flight paths, and they run closely parallel and cross over in gigantic X shapes.
For water. In the early 2000s, the UAE started performing regular cloud seeding operations. Cloud seeding is the process of increasing the amount of rain produced from clouds.
So, as we've been reporting for the past week or so, fine dust concentrations really did rise to alarming levels in South Korea over the past several days. One of the methods identified as a potential way to mitigate the worst effects is a technology called cloud seeding. Tests are already being carried out in the skies above South Korea.
Residents in southern Tasmania are demanding to know why cloud seeding was conducted over the Derwent River catchment the day before the worst floods in 40 years. Cloud seeding is a technique used to increase rain.
The death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails, are being dropped and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States but in Mexico and Canada. Birds are dying around the world. Fish are dying by the hundreds of thousands around the world. This is genocide by the United Nations. This element within our society that's doing this must be stopped. I happen to know of two of the locations where the airplanes are that dump this crap on us. 4 of the planes are out of the Air National Guard, Lincoln, Nebraska, and the other planes are out of Fort Still, Oklahoma.
All right, guys, that guy Ted Gunderson of the FBI or CIA, he was killed over that very clip. That's what they do to the people that try to come forward. You know, they call us conspiracy theorists when all we do is provide facts after facts after facts after scientific papers. And we have a mass spraying operation over Texas and New Mexico. Let me zoom in on this and show you what's being deployed right this minute. Everybody should be an activist. Let's see if I can get this to load. Now this is crazy right here. So look at the lines, all the straight lines, the crisscross patterns. I can tell by the color of these clouds, these are all man-made clouds. Not one of these is natural. You got hundreds of planes going back and forth, laying down the aerosols. You know, we've seen them spray so hard that they overseeded the sky and it just turns into a chem fog. Look over here in Louisiana, Texas, getting bombarded as we speak. This is going on right now. And before we, I mean, look at that. That's just a mess going through Louisiana. And let's go down even closer on them just to show you just how bad it is in Louisiana right now. I'm going to go probably right there. We'll try that. So it starts off with a little bit of segmented spraying, little short burst, and then here comes the major aerosol. Look at all them X's in the sky if that's coming in clear enough for you. So just wiped out southern part of Louisiana, and we really can't see it real good right there. I probably need to get down to the southern part a little better. Look, this president is not going to do anything. The presidents before haven't done anything. They all know about it. They're going to keep on pushing this. You know, it's going to stop the global warming Well, that's totally a untrue statement, because what happens is when they're creating these cloud decks like this, it's actually trapping the heat in at night. There's no way for the heat to escape. So they're inducing the so-called global warming by not letting the skies clear out at night. Anyway, everybody should be an activist. I'm going to play one more short clip, and then we're going to play a song called Rise, because this is an activist, and it's a good activist. Just listen to this, coming out of Arizona back in 2014. If I can hit the right scene. And we'll find out here. I may not hit the right scene.
Hello, my name's Al DeChico. I live in Golden Valley, and I understand that this is a federal issue. I understand that from speaking to the governor's office, that they cannot or will not even make a statement about this. My question is, have you tested the rainwater? And if you haven't, have you seen the results of our rainwater tests? And also, are you aware that many of the people sitting in this room right here have very high levels of barium, aluminum, and strontium in their blood? People are getting sick and dying. And we want the ADEQ not just to give us a little speech today, but actually to maybe perhaps speak out against it if you know it's going on. And if not, I would suggest you do a lot more investigation. We've been doing it for years. So I'd like a comment on, one, the rainwater, what's in it, and two, what's in our blood. And if it's not coming from geoengineering, is it your responsibility to investigate that and tell us where it is coming from? Thank you. Does the ADEQ have the ability to take a position on this and investigate it further and find out where these toxic metals are coming from that are in our rainwater and in our blood? Thank you.
So there you go, guys. We're going to play a song called Rise. Everybody needs to rise up to stop the madness before they kill every single thing on the planet. Thanks out there, Super Chat. Thanks everybody out there that helps support us and all that stuff. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll see if this thing will jump into the song called Rise, play a couple songs, and then I'll come join in chat. I'll go give away the treasure chest over on DLive. Make sure you guys go to the Float app. All the links are in the description for all the backup channels. We're down to 14 days now. Anyway, guys, much love. We'll see you tomorrow night, God willing. Eyes to the skies, no fear. We have the light on our side.